Welcome to In Focus with Eden Lane.
Tonight we'll make our first visit to a theater in Lakewood, the Edge Theatre, for their production of Murder at the Howard Johnsons. We'll meet with the cast and with the company's executive and artistic director. But first we go to the Denver Film Center on Colfax for more of their special summer programming. We'll learn about CinemaQ Film Festival with Keith and Jeff.
Well, thank you for sneaking in here while you're prepping for CinemaQ Festival here at the Denver Film Center by the Denver Film Society. And we have 12 films to look forward to in this festival for the entire weekend, and it's all right here at your Colfax location.
Indeed, at our beautiful new home, the Denver Film Center Colfax. It's going to be hopping.
To go along with your new home, you have a new partner, a new presenting partner for this festival, the Task Force. Jeff, if you could tell me, how did you get connected with Keith and CinemaQ?
Sure, yes. I'm very excited, first off, to be a part of CinemaQ. We came down actually to visit with them about an event we're going to do in August, and out of that meeting came this great idea that it'd be a great fit if the Task Force, became a partner for the CinemaQ Festival.
And is it true that you actually helped Keith find and select the opening night film? Is that correct?
Yes, and another just really thrilling emotional aspect of my work with the task force, because I did see photos of Angie at the Oriental Theater earlier this spring, and so as that all kind of meshed together, I thought, well, that would be an excellent fit for the festival. So I asked Keith if he could get the screener for it and take a look at it, and then they selected it, but also for opening night. So just really thrilled about that.
As many may remember, there's a Colorado connection with the filmmakers and the subject matter in that it follows the incident where Angie Zapata was murdered in Colorado and the trial. Mm-hmm. Keith, I think you also mentioned that this is one of the largest selections of transgender-focused films that you've had in the festival.
It's true. Normally, I have to turn over a few rocks to find a really good quality transgender film. But this year we were lucky to be graced with 4 that, from documentary to narrative fiction, that are just fantastic. They're just interesting.
So 4 of 12, and there's one that's female focused.
That is All About Love. It's from Hong Kong, and it's a really interesting story about 2 women who'd had a past relationship, sort of dip back into dating men, both accidentally get pregnant, and then fall into each other's lives and realize that there was a spark there that they need to reevaluate.
So that shows that it's not just an LGBTQ film festival, but there's also international component to this film festival.
And that's always one of the fun aspects of programming LGBTQ film, is really when it does become international. You get to see that it truly is the whole world that needs to connect with a lot of these issues and questions and stories.
So there are some special events connected to this film festival. So what's happening opening night, and what are the other special events?
Well, opening night will be photos of Angie, and we're very proud to have the director of the film, Ellen Dominguez, along with members of Angie's family and various people who were the Colorado connection, of course, who were part of the trial, part of the issues that came from everything that came up in the trial. Will be here to talk about the entire real life story, and then the making of the film and all that stuff. And then we'll have a wonderful post-film party at X Bar up the street on Colfax.
So a reception here with the director, and then a post-film party?
Yes.
Okay.
And then in between that and closing night, we'll have a wonderful drag brunch on Sunday.
A drag brunch. What's a drag brunch?
It's a brunch where we recommend you come and drag, and you'll be entertained by some of Denver's best drag artists.
And that connects with a specific film.
It connects with a specific film, Florent, Queen of the Meat Market, which is a documentary about Florent, which is a restaurant in New York City.
A famous restaurant.
Famous restaurant, very famous
infamous,
restaurant.
Depending on your point
of
view.
Yeah, there you go. Where the owner really created a world of performance around the food, and it was just known as the place to go.
So in connection with that, you're actually reproducing the subject of the film somewhat right here at the Denver Film
Trying
Center.
our hardest to bring a little bit of Manhattan down, or
Jeff,
the meatpacking district down here.
Is the task force connected with any of those special events?
Actually, yes. So, well, the photos of Angie night is, of course, opening night, and I think the film, of course, speaks to the work that the task force has done in the transgender movement. So that's why I think it's a very good fit for us. The Sunday film, Florent, also was the second film that the task force is presenting, based upon the setting of Florent and the diner and so forth, and just all of the different conversations that went on through the LGBT movement and all the advances that have been made since that diner had opened and through all the years. So,
will we see your character here that day?
I think Sydney's going to make an appearance. Yeah, so, and
Great.
some others.
Well, it sounds like a really great sort of weekend. I know that you have some dramas, some international films, some comedies as well.
Yes, there's a couple. It's a really zany high school movie called Spork, about a young intersexed girl who is teased by her classmates, but learns
And you said
to...
it's called Spork.
Spork.
Like any other film festival, obviously there must be a package that we can subscribe to be able to see all of the films, or do we just purchase them individually?
Oh, absolutely, there's a package. If you go to our website, denverfilm.org, we're offering a full festival pass, which gets you admission to all the films, including the special nights and events, for a screaming deal with $45 for general public and $40 for Denver Film Society members.
And that
It's gonna be
includes
great.
not just any films you want to go to, but all of the special events connected to the
Exactly.
festival as well?
Yes, we just really want people to come and have a good time and really see some fantastic film.
Well, thank you for sneaking out of your regular activities and preparing for the film festival to tell us about CinemaQ at the Denver Film Center on Colfax. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you.
And now we're off to Lakewood for the Edge Theatre and their production of Murder at the Howard Johnson. We begin our first visit with Executive and Artistic Director Rick Yakonis. Tell me before we talk about this play, how did the Edge Theatre come to be?
The Edge Theatre is a midlife crisis, basically. I have a background in theater. I have a degree in theater. And I did quite a bit when I was younger and went a different direction in life. I ended up getting a job that led me to the next job after that. And one thing led to another, and I was out of theater. And then about a year and a half ago, I decided that life's too short, and I wanted to start getting back into what I love and what I'm passionate about, and started auditioning for a few shows, and ended up getting into a show called Sylvia. And at that point, I said, you know, I really want to do what I want to do as opposed to going out and audition.
What I really want to do is direct.
Well, I want to do the kind of shows that I want to do. There are certain roles that I would like to play. There are certain shows that I would like to direct. And instead of waiting for them to happen for me, I decided to try to make it work for myself. So that's how the Edge Theatre came about.
And the space that we're in, it's one of those sort of surprising theater spaces. This is a storefront theater space that you found here in, is this Lakewood?
This is Lakewood, yes.
How did you have this as your home? Has this been your only home?
This is it. We started The Edge in November of 2010, and I was actually in a show here before it was the Edge Theatre. And I like the space. I liked acting in here. It's a very intimate space. You can go as low as you need to. You can have a wide range of emotions, and everybody can literally hear and see everything that you're doing, regardless of where they're sitting. So it's an intimate space. It's great for actors who like being close, and it's great for the audience. It really engages them in the shows that we've done.
There's something that shows fiscal responsibility in this new trend of these sort of micro theaters, in that you don't have to worry about paying for space that you can't fill on a weekly basis.
Right.
Is that part of the decision for being here?
Well, actually, we do lease this space. This is unlike a lot of theater companies that will go out and try to rent space to actually produce their shows. We actually have this space leased, and we're paying rent on a monthly basis plus utilities. So whatever we do, we need to be sure that we're bringing in enough income to not only cover those expenses, but to cover the expenses of any wages that we pay our actors or our crew, and just basic expenses, trying to dress the place up a little bit. Every show you have to pay rights for, and all of the
build a completely new set.
Build a new set. We're trying to keep it clean. We're trying to upgrade the equipment. So there's a variety of things. So fiscal responsibility is important, but the way that we're trying to accomplish that is by having something going on in here every weekend.
Like what?
So, well, for example, we planned an 8-show season. And we have 3 shows down, and the summer shows starting tomorrow with Murder at the Howard Johnsons is 9 weeks straight of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday performances. So we're doing back-to-back shows. So each show will run for 3 weeks, 12 performances, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We close on Sunday. They've got 24 hours to turn it around to be ready for the next show, which will then run for 3 weeks. And then we're doing that 3 times. So starting tomorrow, this will be 9 weeks of back-to-back shows. So there's always something going on here at the Edge this summer.
Well, how many seats do you hold here?
We have 70.
Is that your permanent configuration, or can that flex based on the kind of show you're doing?
No, we've got a lot of flexibility, and that's the other thing that I really like about this space is that there are ways to make it just a straight proscenium stage where the audience is looking right at the stage, but in that configuration you can only get about 55 people in. We've configured it a little different so that we can put in 70, but what's beautiful thing about it is that there's flexibility in the risers and the way that we have the seating. And next year, as an example, one of the shows that we're going to do in the round. So we're going to move the seats out, we're going to move the stage forward, and just have audience members on all 4 sides, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
Now the actors at the Edge Theatre bringing you Murder at the Howard Johnsons. Tom Auclair, Patty Einoff, Mike Kane, and Amanda Holter.
This is the cast from the current production at the Edge Theatre, Murder at the Howard Johnsons. Tell me, what is it that is, this show has an interesting history in that when it was off Broadway, it did all right, and then as it moved to Broadway, it had just a few previews and only 4 performances on Broadway. Not the kind of show that translates to a big theater, but it seems like it could be perfect for this tiny little space. But I also know that you're doing it a little bit differently because it's a period piece for you. Tell me about what your approach is to the show.
Well, my approach, I was happy when I first came in here and found out that Rick's approach to comedy was sort of jibed well with mine. That, you know, the lines are going to be funny no matter how you say them, but if you build a character, if you play the comedy 1,000%, if you create this real character saying real lines from his own life, then it's even funnier. And I think this show could have gone one of 2 ways. It could have gone very, very campy. There are campy moments in it. It's part of the script. But I think the way we've done it is we have 3 real characters, and the more we've rehearsed and worked together, I'm finding myself liking the characters more and more because we've fleshed them out into actual real people.
Is that an important component as an actor when you're doing such broad material, to have it be based in a real person for you as opposed to sketch comedy? Is that something that's critical to you as an actor?
I think so. We did a backstory. Rick had us do a backstory on our lives, where we were coming from, who we were, our marriage, how long we've been married, did we have any kids. And
I noticed that the married couple isn't sitting together.
Yeah, we're not.
We haven't been getting along well.
After 25 years, I can sit apart, a little bit apart.
Oh, sweetie, honey.
So if that's a little bit of a hint, you play a married couple,
Right.
And you're keeping company. How would you put it?
She's living a little bit of a fantasy after 25 years.
You're doing the deadest.
That's the fantasy.
Wow.
Yeah, she's off in her own little world.
She's off in her own little world.
It's almost like a soap opera to her, but I think in reality, it's her chance to break free, to be somebody different for the first time, not to be the standard housewife material.
Yeah, we all want to avoid being the standard
Exactly.
husband. And do you avoid being the standard neglectful husband in your approach?
Yeah, like Tom was saying, the characters start out kind of, as we all agreed, these are really shallow people, but then we turned them into real people. So the character I play, Paul, is not just, he's kind of he's drawn as kind of a schlepper and doesn't have a lot of fire in the belly, and we've kind of raised his stakes a little bit.
Now, if anybody happened to have attended one of those 4 performances on Broadway, they might know that it was a 3-character piece, but yet we have 4 actors in front of us tonight. And you were an invention of necessity and creativity. Tell me about that.
Well, when Rick first contacted me about this particular opportunity, he said, I'm looking for a stage manager who's going to be a maid, and I'm not sure how we're going to work it in, but I'm looking for something creative, a lot of energy, are you interested? And fortunately, I was one of the first ones to respond and was able to fill that opportunity. And it's gone from someone who just wears a maid outfit and goes on stage to do scene changes to a maid who wears roller skates, has a little 70s bow, has a name, has an attitude, and steals things. So she's really taken on a life of her own.
So you have a real backstory too, then?
Yeah, real backstory, no last name.
Real backstory, no last name. But that's probably just to protect, since she's a klepto.
Oh yeah, you can't find her. Can't give that away.
Obviously, it's a funny sort of farce, sort of broad kind of show. Tell us a little bit about why we need a maid and why we're seeing this beautiful hotel room behind us.
It's a costume drama.
It's a costume
But
drama.
not like a 19th century, merchant ivory type thing. There's a period piece. One of the characters is the time, 1978. Very different time than now.
Do you think that is a critical component to allowing you the freedom to sort of express this script in this way, to do it in the period in which it was originally written?
Oh, absolutely, because as Patty was saying, her character is going through this crisis that I don't know if a housewife would go through a crisis like that in any other decade but the 70s, maybe the late 60s, where, the backstory that I imagined for her was she was very happy being a housewife at home, and then all this, protesting and bra burning and women's lib stuff comes up, and you kind of get swept up into it, and you kind of take it as your mantra, even if you're not entirely sure if it's for you.
And the reason we have the hotel room as our set is because this is where your rendezvous
Yes.
place?
Yeah. They always meet at the Howard Johnsons. It's the hotel.
And what is the sort of one-liner you all have come up with about describing your show? What is that log line you have?
Love never dies unless you hang her.
Yeah.
Love never dies unless you hang her.
Yes.
So that's the murder at the Howard Johnsons?
Yes.
One of three.
One of
One of them.
one of
several.
One
one
of
of
several.
three.
It's a
It should-
violent show.
Yeah, and I guess the title of it is long already, and I guess attempted murder at the Howard Johnsons wouldn't have worked
No.
quite as well. So
If you were describing the show to someone who hasn't come to the edge yet and has only heard about your reputation for doing edgy material, and this is your softer edge for the summer, how would you describe this show?
Have an affair this summer.
I think that was your character talking a little
There
bit.
you go.
And I mean, this is the first in 3 lighter comedies that The Edge is doing for this summer to kind of take a break from, the rape and the murder and the assault.
Tell me, what does it mean to you as an actor to have this sort of outlet?
I loved getting involved with this theater because Rick casts every show according to talent. And we all know that, that doesn't always happen in small theaters, But every show that I've seen here, every actor that I've seen, I've said, that guy or that woman was perfect for this role. And that's what I love about working here, is that it's about the work.
I would also say that The Edge has developed quite a reputation for having really high caliber stuff. Very edgy as well, as you said. But even though we're switching to something a little lighter, something that you can laugh at and not feel like you're, terrible person, it's still that high caliber work. There's still that emphasis on the performance and still that emphasis on the creativity. And I think that in some theaters you tend to lose that looking to just fill the seats, which is certainly important. That's a huge part of it, obviously. But having the opportunity to work with a theater that has that reputation, that says, like Tom said, we're here for the work, has just been really fantastic.
And the funny thing about as we've rehearsed and worked through this is that we've developed some real pathos in this. And I'm not saying that, it's this dramatic piece. It's a comedy. People are going to come here to laugh and hopefully get out of the 100-degree heat. But at certain points in the script, the audience should feel sad. I mean, even for me. And I mean, I'm the cat. I'm the cat.
Especially for you.
Yes. But in each scene, there's like moments where you go, oh. And that's what I liked about Rick's direction, was that he incorporated these moments of reality, and this, as you can see from this set, it's pretty far from reality.
I don't know. I've been to a Howard Johnson.
It's pretty close, actually.
Really? Oh my.
Well, in that era.
Okay.
In that era. And there's a clock on that set that I can't help but covet. A small theater company like this doing some more challenging work that audiences might be more familiar with, and some work that they're not as familiar with. What does it mean to you as an actor to have these kinds of opportunities, even though the work must change because it's such an intimate space? What does it mean to you in terms of exercising your craft to have this as an outlet?
I think a smaller space can be more challenging when you've got the audience pretty much in your lap. We were talking earlier about props, little things, little details make a difference. And
that's probably true for your performance as well.
Yeah, it's real, the devil's in the details, and you really have to get the details down. And we're taking kind of a risk with this because this is basically written like a sitcom, but it doesn't play like a sitcom the way we're doing it. And so developing characters that are more like real people, that are three-dimensional instead of one or two-dimensional. The proof will be in the pudding. Obviously, if they're not laughing, well, it's probably not working very well. But at the same time, there are a few moments that are kind of or ooh, and those kind of balance off. With any comedy, you got to have some tragedy and vice versa. And I think that's kind of what Rick tried to do with this, and we've tried to do with this with him.
Well, I know it's your very last rehearsal tonight before you go up in front of your audience tomorrow. How do you feel?
Oh my God, you're right.
What are we doing sitting here
You
talking?
had to remind us.
Cut. Oh.
Well, I guess that's the perfect way to end. I know that you sort of carved out so much time for us. I really appreciate that. It's the rare group of actors that are so quickly bonded and so confident in what they're doing that they would allow us to come in the night before you open. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for coming.
Have a wonderful show.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Come see us.
Yes.
Everybody. Everybody come.
Yes.
And finally, a look forward for the Edge Theatre Company from Rick Yaconis.
The shows that are coming back to back to back all summer long.
Well, this summer, the Edge was all about doing edgier shows, and that's really how we started. We did 3 shows that really audiences loved, but they walked out, they weren't feeling great. They were thinking, and that's exactly what we wanted them to do, and
Good
it actually
theater
caused emotion.
sometimes challenges an audience too.
Absolutely, but they were pretty high intensity level shows. One was Extremities, second one was a David Mamet, which is always controversial, Speed the Plow, and the third one was a regional premiere that we did here, Killers and Other Family, which was extremely intense. So the summer, we decided, since it's summer, we're going to have a little bit more fun with it. We'll kind of soften our edge, so to speak, get a bit away from the high level intensity, which we will get back to. But for the summer, we're doing a little bit more comedic. So Murder at the Howard Johnsons is a very funny show. And then we have 5 women wearing the same dress, which takes place in a mansion, in a bedroom where right downstairs the wedding is happening. And then the third show of the summer is called Faithful, written by Chaz Palminteri.
Oh.
And that's a comedy, but it's kind of a dark comedy because it's about a husband who puts out a hit on his wife, and she was going to kill herself on the day that she finds out.
Well, as soon as you say Chaz Palminteri, we know there's going to be a little bit of that sort of element.
Right.
We have the softer edge for the summer.
Right.
And then are you picking back up in the fall, and when does your fall season begin?
Fall season, there'll be 2 shows in the fall season. We're going to do Some Girls by Neil LaBute. And Neil LaBute is an excellent writer.
Some of the companies in town seem to love Neil LaBute,
and some hate him.
And some of the reviewers don't seem to like Neil
That's right, that's right. Well, you know, I mean, we got to do what's true to our mission, and Neil LaBute fits right in with the Edge's mission. And Some Girls is an interesting script. It's about a guy who's going to get married, but before he does, he wants to go from hotel room to hotel room and find his ex-girlfriends and right some wrongs, so to speak. So that will be in September, and then in November, which will be our last show of the season, is we wanted to do a holiday show, but at the Edge we can't just do the typical holiday show, so we're doing the 8 Reindeer Monologues.
Oh.
Yeah, and we're actually doing that with a twist. As opposed to just doing the 8 monologues, we're actually writing some original script materials in between the 8 Reindeer monologues.
Oh.
So,
Your season is well underway. Did you have a subscription? Is that still available, or is it all single show purchases?
well, at this point, people can still purchase summer season passes. When we started at the beginning of the year, well, back in November, people could either purchase the full season pass, all 8 shows, or they could purchase just the summer season. As we progressed, buying the season pass doesn't make sense anymore, so they can still buy the season pass, or you can buy individual tickets.
And do you have a ticketing system on your webpage?
We do. We just upgraded our ticketing system so that we can track where our audience is coming from, so that we can learn more about who our audience is and ask them questions about how we can be better at the Edge. And it's a great system. So.
Great. Well, I'm so glad that we finally got to visit your theater, and I can't wait to come and see Murder at the Howard Johnsons here at the Edge Theater.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Can't wait for it to successfully launch tomorrow night.
That's all for this edition. Remember to join us on Facebook and Twitter. With all that Colorado has to offer, we're here to help you keep it in focus. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Snugglebug.